say hamburger, what do you think of? Think of it in your head and then you can raise your hand. When I say hamburger, what do you think of, Ava? Think of some meat? Okay. What else, Maddie?
Well, you basically think of a hamburger.
You basically think of a hamburger. What are some parts of a hamburger? I personally think of the most important part. Yes, Lena.
Meat.
Okay, there's the meat. What other part of the hamburger is really important for the structure? Zach. The bun. The buns. If I didn't have those buns, would I even have a hamburger? No, I would have like whatever lettuce falling out and like my tomatoes would spill out. I would get my hands so ketchup-y. Like that would just be a terrible idea. I am so thankful that somebody invented buns, right? And same with hot dogs. You gotta have those buns. So those buns are important. Why? What does it do? What's that's important, Lacey?
And sometimes you don't get like a mess everywhere on yourself.
That's right. It keeps everything together. Keeps everything together. Now we're gonna change gears and we're gonna think about when we're writing, we use buns. We use buns when we're writing. And guess what? That top bun, I wonder what that top bun would be when we write. What do you think, Autumn? It's your introduction, right? You're setting it all up. My top bun, right? What would be that bottom bun? This is what we're going to talk about today. What's the bottom bun? Keegan? Yes, it's the conclusion. So those two parts is what makes your writing what it is. If you didn't have an introduction, and if you didn't have a conclusion, it would just be a bunch of nonsense. They don't know what's your purpose, how are you going to end it, what's your whole point about this. So those buns are critical. So we've nailed our introduction, we've done our paragraph 1, we've done our paragraph 2. Now it's time for that bottom bun so that we're going to have the most perfect, delicious hamburger. Okay? So that bottom bun is our conclusion that we're going to talk about today. Yes. Now you're hungry? Well, lunch is just in a little bit. You just got to hold tight. Okay, so we're going to do our learning targets. Dexter, you learning targets?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, read number 1.
I can write a paragraph on my card.
Okay, so today we're going to use our graphic organizer. We're going to make that bottom bun of conclusion. Okay? Number 2, Dexter.
I can form a piece
Prepositional phrases. Prepositional phrases, yes. So before we get into all the details of our bottom bun, we're first going to talk about that prepositional phrases, okay? So I want you all to turn your page 129 in your workbook. In your workbook. Page 129. And we're going to look at that definition again of a prepositional phrase. Okay, we're all there? Isaiah, how about you read for me? What's the definition at the top of prepositional phrases?
A group of words that state the relationship between a noun and another word in the sentence.
We're only going to use that page for a little bit. Okay, so it's a group of words that shows relationship. So we're going to have an object, which we call a noun. What's a noun? A person, place, or thing. It's something specific. We can like point to it. And it connects sometimes another noun, or sometimes it connects it to a verb. What's a verb?
Action.
Action. It's what I'm doing, right? Okay, so we're going to look at an example. And that example that we're going to look at is part of our conclusion. I'm going to unpin that one. And here we have our bottom bun. So here's going to prepositional phrase. And you can read it aloud with me. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. But getting involved in this war goes against everything we believe in. So in there's actually even more than one preposition. And it's connecting one idea, one noun, to another noun, okay? And that is, what do we think it might be? If we looked at our prepositional phrases on page 129, we even see some examples of those preposition phrases. Those little words that are in a preposition phrase, they can't stand by themselves alone. They're not meant to do that. It's like a little tiny linking word that's connecting one thing to another. So it really doesn't make sense if you don't have the noun or if you don't have another verb. So when we read this, but getting involved, we're thinking about getting involved in what? This is our key word. In
The war.
this war. So this is their idea. Getting involved. Is that a person, place, or thing? Or is that action? Is that something that I'm going to do? It's action. It's that verb. So this time it's connecting a verb, getting involved in this war. So in is my prepositional phrase that's right in between. And then this war is the noun. So the verb, getting involved, it's using the prepositional phrase in to connect it to war. So sometimes prepositional phrases, it makes things also more specific, really specific. And it kind of adds more detail. But they're so critical, and we're going to be using some of these in our conclusion, and I guarantee you've already been using them, and you didn't even know that you were using them. Probably didn't even know that. So let's look at another example. Everyone, cross your fingers. It worked! Elmo worked. Okay. So, here's another example sentence. Okay? Xavier, read the example sentence for us.
British redcoats arrived to Carport.
Okay. The British redcoats, which means they called the British soldiers, they called them redcoats because they wore redcoats. They arrived to Concord. So what's our first, either a noun or a verb? What do we think, what's first here? What do they first give us, Gabby?
They give us the
Is it a noun or a verb that they give us?
verb.
British redcoats.
Oh wait, no wait.
It's a person. It's a group of people, right? So person, the British redcoats is our noun, and they also say right here arrived. So what is arrived? Is that a verb or a noun?
A verb.
It's a verb. It's an action. They're doing something. They arrived to Concord. So to me, I see this. I see arrived as our verb, and this too is our prepositional phrase, and it's connecting us to a noun, Concord. So it's telling us they arrived to Concord. Okay? They arrived to Concord. Okie dokie. Now what I want you to do is we're going to create a sentence that uses a preposition. And a preposition that I'm going to use is in. Oops, in. This is my preposition that I'm going to use for my sentence. So I'm going to say, Miss Frank, and then I'm going to use a verb. What's a verb that I could use? Miss Frank, something in. What's a kind of a verb that I can use, Jada? Went. Miss Frank went. Here's my noun. even have a verb too, and now I'm going to use my preposition. Miss Frank went in, and now I have to connect it to something else. What's a noun I can connect it to, Dexter? The store. Miss Frank went in the store. So I'm using my prepositional phrase to connect my noun, Miss Frank, and my verb went to the store. I went in the store. I'm going to circle my prepositional phrase. Okay, so now I want you to turn to your page number 154. 154, it's in the back of your book.
Found it.
Okay. It's one of the last few pages. Okay, so we have a set of directions. Mariah, can you read us our directions? Okay, so they're telling us to remember what we've learned. What do prepositional phrases do? They show us the relation between a noun or a verb to another noun or verb. Okay? It's all about the relationship. So what we're going to do here, it says, for each sentence, we're going to underline the noun or verb and circle the prepositional phrase.